This is what I think. These are the stages of most alcoholics. I'm just going to run through my story. Yours should be pretty similar. You start off having a few drinks when you're younger, maybe teens, maybe a little bit later. And that's social drinking. Most people can socially drink, but we are a different set of people. So we go out now and again, have a few drinks, and it tends to relax us, have a good time, maybe gets rid of some social anxiety, lowers your inhibitions, and you don't really have any after effects. Maybe a little bit of a dry mouth, maybe a bit of dehydration, but not too bad, and you can bounce back when you're young and fit. It's quite easy then, isn't it? It's just like, well, I'll go for a drink. Fancy a pint tomorrow or whatever. Not a problem. It doesn't become it's not a problem then, is it? Social drinking is not a problem for people. I know people can go for a few drinks and have nothing for another month. But with us, it's different. What's different about us? I'll get to that in a minute. So maybe we get to work, we start to drink a little bit more. And a lot of people, well, I'd say drink moderately. Drink, 3 or 4 times a week even. It goes above the social and it's moderate. Maybe have a few too many on a Saturday, Sunday lunchtime, get back to work on a Monday. Maybe a little bit of a headache, maybe feeling a little bit rough, but nothing particularly bad. And they're going like that for years. They're not drinking to excess, just moderately. I was like that when I was early 20s. Then things change in life. It did for me anyway, maybe for you as well. I enjoyed the social drinking, I enjoyed the moderate drinking, and then I stepped up a little bit when I moved to London. I thought, wow, I like these pubs here, a lot different to the northeast. A lot of people I associate with success, you see. People are well dressed, carrying briefcases, got a few quid. I thought, God, I like this. Oh, they all drank. All the people I met, the senior managers I met, the top solicitors I met. I was a police officer in central London then. I just got promoted, had a little bit of cash. I thought, chat the lad here. Had a decent house in Epping. Was married. That was a different story. My drinking was starting to go from moderate to quite heavy drinking. After some shifts, when I had a few days off after, I would drink a lot more. But I still thought, I quite like this life. I was mid to late 20s then. And I was maybe slipping into heavy drinking now. I didn't have hair of the dog or anything like that. I didn't feel so rough I had to have another drink on my day off until a little bit later. But I started to notice I was drinking a little bit more. And then we used to come north and my dad would say, "Go have quite a lot of drink on you." But I thought, nah, I'm all right. I don't feel too bad. Carried on with that for a long time. Sort of making my life work around the alcohol. Or making the alcohol work around my life, I'm not quite sure. So that's the first 3 stages, social, moderate and heavy. A lot of people go through this. And then they stop at the heavy. They sort of pull back a little bit. That's what most people do. They just think, wow, I've had a bit too much on Saturday. I'm going to start cutting down. I'm not going to go out so early. I'm not going to drink during the day and all this. That's what most people do. And they work through the hangovers. Now, as time went on, my daughter was born when I was 31. There wasn't as much rest period then. Because it's like you've got to recover from a heavy drinking session. I was still drinking heavily then. And then went on holiday and I felt extremely tired. I'd been working quite long hours. And then obviously my daughter was born. I wasn't having as much rest. And I was trying to get promoted again. Doing a bit of studying. Life was getting a bit more complicated. And I remember went on holiday to, I think it was Tenerife or somewhere. It was one of these all-inclusive things. I'd never been on one before. And I thought, I'm just going to try one in the morning because I felt a bit rough. I felt tired. I used to get a lot of energy from drinking, you see. I didn't get tired of it. I had no off switch. I remember getting in the morning, about 10 o'clock, I thought, I'm just going to have one of those cans out of the fridge. My wife said, what the hell are you doing? So I'm just going to have one. She was busy with my daughter then. And that whole holiday, I started to drink a bit more. And I realised that meant every day I'm having this hair of the dog thing. And I thought, I'm getting a little bit weary with this. So I cut back again, a little bit, to, again, heavy drinking. It wasn't crazy, it was just, I would say heavy. On my days off, I have a little bit more. And I would drink every day. Every day I had some alcohol in my system. not during the day, but you understand what I mean. Have 4 cans a night. It wasn't a crazy amount every day, but on the days off, I always tend to binge a bit more. Life goes on, doesn't it? You cope, you still function well, and I did all right work, wasn't impacting that. And then a couple of years later, I noticed that I was thinking, God, I feel really anxious here. So I feel anxious on the underground. And not particularly at work, but when getting to and from work, I felt a bit anxious with my home life, and anxious travelling as well. Flying was becoming a bit more difficult, getting public transport, you know, not in the underground, I was starting to feel a bit faint or a bit edgy and a bit, wow, everyone's looking at me, that sort of thing. And then I noticed my wife starting to whinge about how much I was spending. I started to hide the credit card statements, because I used to go to the bureau to charge and get cash out. And then 2 or 3 weeks down the line, where's that credit card statement? All this sort of thing would build up with me. Anxiety would increase. And then I started on my days off to have a hair of the dog. And it got worse. And I was binge drinking so heavily when she wasn't around. I was still working, I was still doing all right, I didn't have any sick leave. As time went on, I started to think, well, the marriage started to get a little bit rocky. I was drinking too much, I was sleeping late. I wasn't doing what I should do. I was a good husband, I wasn't cutting the grass, you know, the usual things. I do these jobs today when I'm at work, because I had a day off during the week. Didn't do them. I thought, I don't feel well. Now let's reach for a can, all this sort of thing. That's the danger point. So you've gone through the social, the moderate, the heavy, and then you go to stage 4, I would say, which is heavy drinking, and you know things are starting to fragment, a bit fragile. You're not focusing on work, you lose your purpose, you lose your light, you starting to lose your confidence. I used to have problems driving on the motorway and this sort of thing. I started to sweat, not problems, but it was creeping in, the anxiety was creeping in very quickly. And I couldn't get on the underground in the end, I used to get busted to work and all this sort of thing. So I was drinking at the stage 4, the heavy drinking with consequences, I would call it. Now, from then on, kept working, eventually retired. Now, I was drinking at this level of heavy consequences for years. Retired, got divorced, and then I suddenly hit stage 5, which is dangerous drinking, where I couldn't stop. I'd fallen off the cliff then. Yeah? So I'd gone past heavy drinking with consequences, and I was completely addicted then. So I would have hair of the dog, I'd wait a couple of hours, and then I'd think, I better go to the pub, have some more, or better get some delivered. And then I was in a real mess, and I couldn't stop. So I got some pills from the doctor, some diazepam, that came off, a couple of years off, and then went back on it again. The first relapse wasn't too bad, I got off it again, with more pills a couple of years later. I did that 3 times. Every time I relapsed, it hit me faster and harder. It was hard to get sober again. Then eventually in 2014, I relapsed after 8 years sober. That nearly killed me. I couldn't get any pills. I couldn't get any medication. I couldn't get any help. And I'd self-medicated with alcohol for 5 years. Until 2019, I was in hospital, seriously ill, with liver failure and lots of other problems. And I went through all these phases of alcohol. And I'm about telling you what to do. When you get to the stage of heavy drinking, be very careful of going to the next stage where you're heavy drinking, when you've got consequences. You've got to pull back then. You've got to get some help then, because once you reach the last stage, which is the dangerous level, which I got to, then it's hard to get back. It's like once described by a guy on the radio to me, and not to me, on a chat show, many years ago when I was just a teenager. I'll never forget what he said. He said, it's like walking to the edge of a cliff and falling off. You can't get back on again. You've been hanging on for a long time, so you just can't get back on again. And that's the stage when you're in a real mess, and you have to just call it quits, basically. But obviously, if you're drinking too much, you can't just quit cold turkey. You've got to try and get some medical advice. Or reach out to me. I've got a one-to-one mentoring service. I'll put the links in the description on all the videos. There's about 700 videos now. 15,000 subscribers. Very strong channel, because I tell it as it is. It's as simple as that. And the reason I stopped in 2019 was because the doctor looked me in the eye in 2019. He said, you've been seriously ill with this. You're still seriously ill. I guarantee if you start drinking again, they'll be dead in 6 months. And that's what you've got to do. Focus on the fact it's going to kill you. Because whatever you say about Uncle Mary lived to 120 drinking brandy, if you drink regularly, you become dependent on it, you will die early. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Hope you get some benefit from these videos. Please like and share them and help people. I've got an ebook out as well. It's worth a look. It's only $5.99, the price of a pint, really. And I do one-to-ones. And please get in touch. I'll speak soon.